The NBA play-in tournament wraps up tonight with a doubleheader here on ESPN Radio starting at 6:30 Eastern when the Heat host the Bulls for the 8th seed in the East. That game to be followed by the Thunder and Timberwolves in Minneapolis for the 8th seed in the West. That one also on ESPN. The playoffs start Saturday. ESPN's Tim Bontemps doesn't see a long run for the Lakers.
I just think there's too many things working against this Laker team. You've got the potential injury issues with LeBron and AD. You've got game he had to expend so much energy just to beat the Wolves.
Tim Bontemps on KJ and Max. The Bucks are
was taken into custody Thursday outside Boston. Much of that information leaked contained intelligence on Russia's warfighting in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin today signed a bill allowing for electronic notices to draftees, signaling a plan to conscript more Russian citizens to fight in Ukraine as a spring offensive is likely. Breaking this hour, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is halting lower court rulings that limited access to abortion pills. The planes are flying in and out of Fort Lauderdale again following 2 days of closures due to rain.
I love Florida. I'm not going to lie, but I'm ready to get home to New York, especially since it's 85 there. We're hoping that we take off on time. Our flight's delayed about 2 hours, but we knew about that ahead of time.
More than 2 feet of rain flooded out roads and neighborhoods. The USFL is back. Games begin tomorrow. Watch them on Fox. Just before the close on Wall Street, the Dow was down 160. America is listening to Fox News.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me.
Nope. Nuh-uh. Oh, no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
What if your home's title, the document that proves you own your home, is in some criminal's name? That's home title theft. Home titles are online, and once a criminal forges your signature, he'll take out loans against your home, or worse, sell it. Home Title Lock helps shut it down. They do better than anyone. Has some criminal taken over the title to your home? Find out for free and get 30 free days of protection with sign up. Use promo code radio at HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code radio at HomeTitleLock.com.
Our American soldiers have historically been considered paragons of physical fitness, but a new study shows they're not being all they can be. Lillian Wu explains.
U.S. Army recruits are more out of shape than ever, according to a study, and the U.S. military is spending millions because of it. The study in the journal Progress in Cardiovascular Diseases found that lack of fitness led to an alarming rate of injuries going through initial entry training. The data from fiscal year 2017 found nearly 35% of the trainees suffered at least one musculoskeletal injury, racking up nearly $15 million in treatment costs, with the problem most pronounced among women. The study's authors also found recruits from the South were more prone to problems in terms of trainee injuries, accounting for 8 of the 10 worst performing states. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Former Vice President Mike Pence, one of several Republicans rumored to be running for president, is calling for convicted mass shooters to face tougher consequences.
I believe the time has come to institute a federal death penalty statute with accelerated appeal to ensure that those who engage in mass shootings face execution in months, not years.
Speaking at the NRA Leadership Forum in Indianapolis and after 2 mass shootings in Tennessee and in Kentucky, that natural gas pipeline from Alaska could be back on track to be built. The U.S. Department of Energy is approving the order for the project to build a mega pipe from Alaska to transport liquefied natural gas overseas. The project was announced originally in 2020, but environmental activists have been fighting against its construction. I'm Eben Brown, and this is Fox News.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. and liftoff.
Check. I literally just create madness.
Well, they're up.
I'm going to go off here.
They don't have a great quarterback.
I got to take a break. I'm getting in trouble.
To win the Big Ten, you first got to win the West.
Bad Bunny.
Have you heard his name in a while?
No.
Has it bothered you?
No. Defensively, they got to come in with some confidence.
Is that even analytics?
I'm in a parking garage, kind of lost.
Karen Shannon, Matthew Meyer, R.J. Melendez, Coleman Hawkins.
These trophy presentations aren't over. I didn't come here to go 5-7.
I'm so proud of Illinois football right now.
I'm so tired of Joel Embiid.
We're not taking Patrick Corbin.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
You are Reba McEntire's niece.
Roshan Russell.
Coach Bielma.
You no longer here. Salute to yourself.
What?
We got all kinds of things for you here.
There's a lot of glass.
Oh.
Guys, we have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
It's The Drive.
Smack dogs. It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. I'm Lon Tay. Derek Piper is actually to my right today, so this is a little out of the ordinary because normally if I'm bringing us into the show, he's on my left, but I'm in the catbird seat. Pipes, though, battling a little bit of a cold, so we're going to allow him to not speak as much.
You've been on load management, and now I'm on the IL. Overuse. And then Kyle also battling with a little bit of a cold, but still sounds better than Piper. So that's where we're at. Yeah, it's not hard to do.
Let me tell you, this load management stuff is, I think I can get used to it. I think I can get used to this. If I can get my kid to hit a ball. Now, once that starts happening, then I'll really enjoy this load management. But you know what? 4 baseball games, including tonight or today, and what a week to do it. I wish we were playing tomorrow. I wish we had a game tomorrow and just played 5 in 1 week because the weather's been beautiful, and I know it's supposed to turn a little bit this weekend, which stinks. But you guys have handled a lot, and one thing that I haven't talked to you guys about is Gordyville. I got to see and read on Illini Inquirer a lot of stuff. The one thing that, well, before I get to this, because I want to ask you about a kind of a theme that was resonating out of that doesn't particularly. Oh, I said I'd never say that word on the air, and I just did my number one sin on the air. But it doesn't really resonate right now with this Illinois team, and I'll explain in a minute. That said, how cool was that to have Tom Izzo, the dean of Big Ten coaches, Matt Painter, number 2 in line, Fred Hoiberg, who used to play for your Bulls in the NBA, and of course coached at Iowa State, now at Nebraska. And then Fran McCaffrey, who is always kind of that caricature that we don't quite know about Fran, but I'm guessing if you sat down and had a beer with him, he'd be one of the funniest guys and one of the best guys to visit with. And, of course, our own Brad Underwood. To have 5 of the 14 Big Ten coaches in Gordyville, how cool was that? And I don't mean to say it like the way I said Gordyville there made it sound like, oh, they're in Gordyville. That's a cool place over there.
It is.
And it holds a lot of people. And every year – Illini fans come out for a great cause with cancer, trying to kick cancer's butt. So how awesome was that, though, to be there with all 5 of those guys in the same room?
It was extremely cool. And we've talked a lot about Brad Underwood's ability to recruit as far as building up a roster. He's recruited pretty darn well and getting some great guests at this Coaches versus Cancer event. Last year, Hasbill Self and Lon Kruger.
2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no big deal. Before that, Frank Martin and a buzzed Tim Miles. He was recently fired from Nebraska.
Buzzed on Coors Light.
Yeah, he was dabbling into the Coors Light. And, he's a comedian even when he's sober.
Right.
So when he was a little buzzed, it was really fun to get a chance to talk to him. But, yeah, when you bring in some of the big-name coaches in the Big Ten and different personalities, especially
exactly.
Fred's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And Matt's more of the low-key guy that I always thoroughly enjoy listening to Matt Painter because I think he's one of the most insightful coaches as far as just listening to his answers and how he views things in the Big Ten and how he breaks down basketball. So we get those opportunities in the media to sit in the press rooms with those type of coaches, and the Big Ten media day is a little bit more intimate, and that's always something that's very enjoyable. But this one, to have them, button down a little bit, a little more loose, a little more there to have fun, but obviously, like you said, to support a great cause and trying to fight against cancer, and just to see the camaraderie between that group, guys that compete against each other all year long and know that they're buddies off the court and can have fun together. It seems like, and this hasn't been a new thing, but Brad and Fran seem to have a pretty good bond. Like they're very fiery competitors, obviously. Maybe Brad will take a page out of Fran's book of the stare down of Kelly Pfeiffer. We'll see if he implements that at all next year. But you could tell there's a lot of respect there. And then, Tom, like you said, the dean of the Big Ten, one of the longest tenured, biggest names now in coaching, has been for a long time. But now you see guys like Coach K cycle out, and Roy Williams, Jay Wright as well. So Tom Izzo is one of the last of a dying breed.
And he said that. He said, you know what, if I don't figure it out on the portal, then I'll just do what everybody else is doing. Meaning I'll just retire and go, which he should do anyway, but whatever, he keeps battling.
Yeah, and this wasn't surprising, but he obviously was asked about the portal and pushed back on it and gave some interesting stuff. I want to play that as we go along. After you dip out and go to watch some baseball and some more great weather, and instead of hearing what's left of my voice by the time we get to the second hour, I think Kyle and I should play some of the Tom Izzo, Matt Painter.
I'd love to hear that.
Both those guys. And Matt offers insight that they were on the committee that was throwing this around and trying to figure out what was going to take place in the next step for college basketball. Both were very dug in on pushing against the one-time transfer rule. And I don't think that they're necessarily against guys getting what they're doing, the NIL circles and whatnot. But as far as what this has created, it's there's positives and negatives, as we talked about throughout ever since it's been implemented, but definitely this offseason as well. So to get those people together, to see a great turnout, as always, of Illini supporters and those there to fight against cancer, it was really cool and very enjoyable.
The analogy that I thought of the other day with college basketball and college sports in general, with not only the NIL but the portal at the same time, Christmas vacation, when Clark decides to put the spray on the bottom of his sled, and he's thinking, you know what, this is going to be fun. I'm going to go a little faster, and then it's like, phew, he's out of control. Like we're out of control with this, and you have all these coaches essentially saying we've got to figure out something to get this thing a little bit back in control. Now, Kyle,
side note, real quick.
Yeah,
have you ever questioned why there's so many mountains in Chicago in that movie?
I know.
Like when they go out to get the Christmas tree, and they're like in this mountainous
where
area.
are you? They must have driven to Galena.
Apparently, I don't even know where that is.
Galena's awesome, by the way. You need to take Haley there sometime. It is a really, really cool. It's about a 3-hour drive, but it's west of here, northwest, but it's a beautiful little area. You would love it. Kyle, I got to bring you in now for the fashion statement show. Every year at Gordyville, I wonder if all of these coaches have one shirt in their closet that makes them look like they're going to a rodeo. Because every year at Gordyville, everybody dresses up like they were born in Camargo, Illinois, like I was, and you're putting on your best, like, long sleeve, not flannel because it's kind of warm out, but that country, the country looking shirt were any of them in belt buckles? Like, did any of them have the huge, like, cowboy belt buckle by chance? But I get a kick out of that every year, and what's cool about it is they look normal. Right, and now Fred Hoiberg didn't go with that. He went with just like he did the Lante pullover. That's exactly what he went with. But I always love how Brad's, like, he goes to Pard's Western, and shops for that. Maybe all of them go there. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe Brad says, if you come into town early, I'll take you to Pard's, we'll get you a shirt, and then you're good to go. But I always laugh at that every year that they're all dressed the part to get to Gordyville, and do that. Now,
it was cool that Izzo has, like, a couple of the buttons
he's open.
Yeah. And while he's a small guy. Like, he's very short, but he's stout. Like, man,
is he?
He looks like he could throw some weights around back in his day, or just be one of those, like, if you put him at fullback or something, he could hit you.
He could do it. I bet he would be a good fullback. Get low, you know, and nail like a linebacker or a defensive end coming in. That'd be awesome.
Did you see the picture of Painter with the Miller Lite?
No.
There was a photo, Kyle and I discussed it. It was circulating on Twitter of Brad and I think Brad was in that picture, was a friend, with Izzo like yucking it up and had his arm around Painter, and Painter's like laughing and pointing with a Miller Lite in his hand. It looked like he got after it a little bit.
I love it, man. I think that's great. And I loved how Izzo was like, I love where this is at. Like, he's like, this is awesome to be like kind of out in the middle of the country where Gordyville is. It's not an easy place to get to, but it's not that hard either. Head over by St. Joe, head north, etc. But I just think it was awesome to see that. And Darren says on the U of I Atlantic Link text line that he heard they raised over $450,000. That is an amazing thing if they did that. And what a cool thing that they do year after year. Now, Kyle, I want your input on this too, more than anything to help save Derek here in his voice, but I do want Derek to pipe in. So a couple of these, excuse the pun, a couple of the stories that I've read were centered around the portal and how college basketball has gotten to the point. And I believe it was Painter and Hoiberg both, or no, it was Fran and Painter both that used this, and maybe the others did, but they essentially said, I wasn't hired at my collective school to, you know, build a team. I'm supposed to build a program. And you look at that, and to not Brad's fault because of what has happened with Epps, and obviously you lose Meyer, you may lose Shannon, obviously, who is now declared for the draft. Coleman Hawkins also did the same, but you lose Epps, you lose Sky Clark, and Brad right now is just building a team. That's all he can do, right? I mean, he's got to do what he can do to get a team on the court next year, Kyle, but it is an interesting statement when you hear a coach, and believe me, Brad Underwood probably thinks the same thing, that I'm here to build a program. In other words, I want to get guys in here like a Luke Goody, let's say, that's going to stay for 3 or 4 years, and that's how you kind of get a lot of not similarity, but that does, I guess, work in that situation. But, Kyle, I thought it was interesting when you had kind of some pushback from Painter and also Fran essentially saying, hey, I'm not here to build
was the one that pushed back the most.
Well, big time, yeah. I don't know if he used that exact word, but
he didn't.
There's no doubt that he is one that is very fortunate, he and Painter, that they've been able to retain the majority of their players this next season. But I just found that interesting, Kyle, that they're essentially saying, hey, I wasn't hired to build a team. I'm hired to build a program, but I don't know how much longer you can just build programs.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you just have to get with the times at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I know me and Derek were talking about, like, with Izzo, like when Tyson Walker's gone and if his freshman class leaves and whatnot, like all of a sudden you're going to have to soften your stance a little bit or you're going to be in a deep hole. So I don't know. Yeah, I get it with these coaches. It must be frustrating for these guys to, you know, have to do exactly what you said, where every offseason you have to build a brand new team, and it just isn't that continuity that you had. But that's the one thing I do really like about Brad, is that he's just embraced it. He's not getting up in front of the microphone and complaining about it or doing all this stuff. Not that I don't understand where those coaches are coming from, but I'd rather have a coach that's fully going to just embrace what he has to embrace at this time, and he's had some success doing it.
Yeah, and Pipes, I'd like for you to answer that, but I also think it's kind of gutsy for guys like Painter and Izzo to come out kind of against it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, essentially, maybe not against it, but come out with pretty strong words, because you wonder then if there's a player out there that's listening to that saying, well, I don't know that I want to go play for him because he doesn't like the idea of what's going on in college basketball. They could take it the wrong way in terms of thinking, well, he doesn't want me to get paid, so I'm not going to go play for him. But I don't think they're talking about the NIL. They're talking more, I think, about the portal. I would assume like 80-20 on that. But what are your thoughts on what you heard essentially of what was asked of those coaches?
No, I think what you just said is an interesting point, because last year Purdue wanted to get Nigel Pack when he transferred from Kansas State, and he was an Indianapolis native, and Purdue obviously had a big need at point guard. So they were very much in the mix and thought to be the leader in the clubhouse at one point, until Miami brought the big bag and said, no, here's $800,000 over 2 years, and that was it. So,
wow.
I think it is interesting if Izzo has to pivot, given how publicly critical he's been of the portal and just the current environment in college basketball. Now, again, like if if the sell is still there, if Michigan State, which has been a proud program, they've won a lot, if they get on board with trying to be aggressive in the portal, I don't think that maybe digging up some old quotes of Izzo is going to maybe swing a recruit one way or the other.
Sure.
But it is kind of an interesting and a gamble to go that way if they ultimately stay steadfast against trying to build in the portal. But yeah, I get it for Izzo because he's around. Number one, he's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he's done it has worked because he's been able to stack recruiting classes and had guys that, you bring in one class and then they're sophomores, and you bring in another class and those guys blend with the previous one. And yeah, there's going to be instances where some don't play very much, and that was happening 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where guys would transfer. But he would go from, okay, we got Keith Appling and Draymond Green and whatnot, and then they're gone, and then we have Gary Harris and Brendan Dawson, and okay, they leave, then Denzel Valentine's
just
here.
one after another.
Like, that's the old way of doing it. Now it's you bring in some freshmen, and yeah, they can still play, but they want to leave for whatever reason.
You only have them 1 year for sure.
Exactly.
And that's the crazy part. And our buddy Todd just said college basketball is not about buying players. It's more like renting players. And
true.
That is exactly the way it's turned.
Well, it takes away so many of these coaches for good reason because, and I don't think that's just lip service. They love the development part.
Yeah.
They love being able to get guys, whether they're highly ranked or not. But I think especially when you get someone like you mentioned in a Luke Goody, I think to put it on Fran as far as a comparison, like Luka Garza was a 3-star big man out of Washington, D.C., and look what he turned into, like the National Player of the Year.
Incredible.
So that's, I think, where coaches take such pride in being able to bring in guys, know that they're going to go through some bumps in the road as freshmen, but just allow them to develop and ingrain themselves into their program, and that builds a culture, and that builds just cohesion as you can keep guys through a number of different years. But to develop their games, a lot of satisfaction in that. And, I mean, why wouldn't Brad take a lot of satisfaction in the player that Trent Frazier ultimately became through the years? Like the fact that he didn't defend anybody when he came into Illinois, and then he was considered one of the best perimeter defenders in the Big Ten by the end of it. So the fact that is kind of like trending away from college basketball has to make them mad, and I fully understand why they would push back on that and understand that if this is where we're going, now there are still going to be players that will stick it out.
Sure.
Like, I could be wrong. I don't want to speak for him, but I would fully expect Luke Goody to be here for 4 years. I would be surprised if that's not the case. But so you're going to have some of those guys, but just the fact that the number of people that will stick it out and just the freedom of movement that will allow those that face adversity then to just say, okay, it must have been my situation and now I can just go somewhere else and things will change for me, versus saying, all right, there were some tough things about my freshman year, but I'm going to go back, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to trust my coach that we're going to get the most out of it and get to where I want to go. There's less and less of an incentive to do that.
Luke Goody in that class is the first class that's not affected by COVID. Is that correct? Do we have like one more year of that or two?
It's a good question.
Because Goody would be a junior next year. So it would be whoever.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands from Lands Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Right now on Lands, it's a great time to buy a new Trane heating and cooling system. We are offering special financing.
Hey, it's good to hear Mr. Lands, though, chatting over. He's always wanted to come on our show, he said. So there you go.
He's on.
Just popped in.
Commercials are just firing.
But I'm wondering because if Goody's a junior, so it would have been the year before. It would have been Coleman's
freshman class. Yeah, the freshman class during COVID.
So Coleman technically could play 2 more years.
Yes.
If he wanted. So who else came in with Coleman?
Andre Curbelo and Adam Miller.
Oh, that's right.
And Brandon Lieb.
Okay, so now Coleman's the only one.
Last man standing.
Isn't that amazing just to go back and look through? I know. I read one. I think you guys on Inquirer, you may have done this, that you kind of wrote how the last few recruiting classes and how there's not a lot of guys left off those.
There's 50% left of your previous class. So you brought in 6 freshmen this past year. 3 have stayed when you have Moretti, Ty, and Sincere. Before that, you had 3 guys in the 2021 class with Goody, Melendez, and Podziemski.
Oh, that's right.
1 is left.
Wow.
And then 4-man class the year before that with Coleman, Curbelo, Miller, and Lieb, and 1 man is left. So if this might be just this trend might be
13,
something that you could look at across college basketball, where 1 year removed from them coming in, 50%'s left. 2 years removed, there's 33% left.
Wow.
3 years removed, there's 25% left.
That's analytics.
That's literally just moving the fractions, or whatever you want to call it. And excuse my voice going into all kinds of
Peter
octaves
Brady
today. Yeah, it's not because I'm going through puberty. I promise you.
It is amazing, and that's what it's about. So, yeah, I'm anxious to hear Izzo and Matt if you do that. I mean, when you look at those two for next year as you project, Izzo is going to have a loaded roster, especially if his freshman class that's coming in is as good as advertised. Isn't it like number 3 in the country?
Yeah, it's up there. Xavier Booker and Jeremy Fears, both McDonald's All-Americans. Booker is one of the top 5 prospects in the entire class that will be coming in for 2023. So he's a big man that's very skilled. I think he's probably more of a 4. He's slender, so maybe not playing the 5, but he's very offensively talented. Could really complement their guards well, assuming they get Tyson, who's already declared that he's going back. Hogard sticking, Jaden Akins, who really came on last year and was a shot maker from the perimeter. Malik Hall's going to be returning too. So you think about him going through an injury in the preseason that might have thrown him off a little bit in his development. I've been skeptical whether he's going to – they kind of tabbed him as someone that would develop into a star ultimately.
Yeah, I'm not drafting him next year.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever do that. But when you have Booker coming in, you have Fears, and there's another, I think, top 50 guy mixed in with them that will be on the wings. That
Cohen Carr.
There you go. Cohen Carr. Where's he from?
South Carolina.
Okay. The only reason I asked that is a buddy of mine, Mark, what was his name? My goodness, Marcus Carr, that played at SIU. He was a
Marcus Carr for Minnesota.
Well, he was
Texas.
for Minnesota too, in Texas. Well, we had a Carr. Was it Marcus? I think it was Marcus Carr played at SIU too. But I wondered if, because he'd be close to my age, I wondered if that was maybe a son. Am I saying that right? I don't know why I'm saying it wrong. But anyway,
wasn't Chris Carr? Was
Chris? That's what it was. Gosh dang it! I knew Marcus didn't sound right. I guess because I'm thinking of the Minnesota dude and the Texas dude. So. Interesting stuff on that. I think I have a way to maybe fix our board that is kind of getting a little that's getting antsy on us. So you want to do that? I came up with kind of a new game. Do you want to tackle that?
Let's do it. You introduced this kind of like a what if ... as it relates to sports, and we're not entirely in the deadest of periods.
No.
Not that I'm saying that you have to do it then, but we do have to get more creative.
Yes.
When there is a little bit of a lull in news, and we're kind of now on the grind of baseball, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that the Cardinals lost 5-0 last night and got blanked by Vince Velasquez, but
I love it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Kyle.
Kyle. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it's something that I actually was telling you guys. This is probably too much information, but I was laying in bed one night, and we had talked about Ben Wilson, the young man that was shot and killed that was coming to Illinois as the number 1 player in the country back in the day. ESPN did like a 30 for 30 on him. And I remember that day that after we had talked about him, I woke up that night and I was sitting there and I'm like, man, what if he would have come to Illinois? I wonder if that could have been a national title or what that would have done for this program. And I started thinking to myself, what if? And that would be cool. That'd be kind of a cool thing that we could even ask listeners to submit a thing, like another example. We can give examples. We can talk about a couple when we come back.
I've got some written down.
You've got a couple written down.
Starting to reminisce about big moments for my teams growing up, and even more recent, and some like Illinois basketball teams that I've covered.
Okay.
Where if one break goes a different way, what would that mean for Illinois?
Okay.
I'm interested to tackle this. I think we could dive in on one for like an entire hour.
And that's kind of the idea behind it, is it brings up conversation.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to have a different opinion. Maybe you'll have the same opinion, but go at it in a different direction. But I just thought it's such a simple what if, blah, blah, blah. And it can lead to so many doors opening in terms of maybe you thought of something that like I've got an example of a Cardinals player. Like maybe back then you were like, well, I'm glad that he left, or I'm glad, but then you've never really thought to yourself, but if he would have stayed, I wonder what that would have happened. So, yeah, we can do that a little bit. And then, of course, you're going to play a little Tom Izzo next hour and also Matt Painter. I'd love to hear from those two, kind of the deans, if you will, of Big Ten basketball, which will be fun. If you want to weigh in, 359-2255. That's 217-359-2255. Hockey is done. The Blues and Blackhawks both bowed out. They're both, I think the Blackhawks are going to get a top 3 pick maybe. Of course, they have a little bit of a lottery there. Everybody's shooting for, I believe his name is Bedard. I mean, he's a stud. There is an absolute game changer coming, like a Connor McDavid kind of game changer coming this year in the draft, and everybody's wanting that number 1 pick. I think Carolina's the odds on to win it, if I'm right on that, but certainly the Blackhawks will have a shot at that. The Blues decided to get kind of hot near the end of the season, and then they started tailing off again, which is what they've done all season. So neither the Blues or the Blackhawks are in the playoffs, and I literally cannot remember the last time both teams were out of the playoffs. That's really something that maybe it would be an easy find. I don't know. Maybe Kyle can do that. I don't know. You're good at Google. But I don't know the last time that those two teams at the same time were both out of the playoffs. And, of course, NHL playoffs are one of my favorite things.
Do you have a team you're going to ride the bandwagon on?
Well, I'm interested to see what the Rangers do with Vladdy.
I'm with you on the Rangers.
Yep, and Taze, or not Taze, but Kane. It'll be interesting to see that. Jonathan Taze, by the way, played essentially his last game with the Chicago Blackhawks, and they nearly sold that place out and gave him an amazing standing O, and great job by Blackhawks fans. I mean, the amazing stuff that Taze and Kane and Sharp and those guys did with that team to win 3 cups. That's just an amazing accomplishment. So cool to see Taze get his kind of day in the sun, if you will. But, yeah, I mean, the Rangers are interesting. I mean, don't look now, but the Boston Bruins have set a record for the most points and most wins in an NHL season. And here we are, the Bruins and Blues both played for that Stanley Cup back in, 18 or 19, with the Blues winning it. Now the Blues can't even make the playoffs, and here the Boston's sitting there, the Bruins are sitting there making records right now. So a lot of the power, I think, is in the East, and we'll see what happens there. But certainly I love when the NHL playoffs roll around. It is excitement. It's high intensity. It does stink not having the Blues in it, and even the Blackhawks, because I could maybe root against the Blackhawks when they were in it. But certainly, it's that kind of having that villain in there helps. We found that out in the Final Four this year when you didn't really have one. So, but yeah, just kind of weird. I don't know why I went on a hockey tangent. We don't talk very much hockey, but the season is done, and bring the playoffs on. Actually, I think there's a couple of games. Is that tonight? Or maybe that was last night. No, I think tonight. I think there's 2 more games that were postponed due to weather and such. So, or flooding, I think, in Nashville. So they'll finish it up, and then they'll get the playoffs going. And I count me in as somebody that is fired up to see that. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll do all that. And again, if you want to weigh in, 359-2255. Yeah, Diane said good to see Taze get crowd and a nice send-off on his last goal. Absolutely. That was a cool moment for the Chicago Blackhawks, an organization that hasn't had a lot of cool moments in the last few years. All right, we're back. Give us a call, give us a text, especially 359-2255. It is The Drive.
When you know you've got a problem and something's bugging you, call on American Pest Control and take control. You be wise, Americanized. Call on American Pest Control. That's how you get back in control. Call American Pest Control. American Pest Control. No more bugs to bug you. Take control.
Kids may love bugs, but we don't. It's time now for a no-obligation termite inspection. American Pest Control has now installed the Centricon Termite Colony Elimination System to over 6,000 homes right here in central Illinois. The Centricon system provides complete colony elimination. Make sure your home is protected. Get their home before they get yours.
Call American Pest Control. American Pest Control. No more bugs to bug you. Take control.
Have you heard rare, exotic Tibetan yak meat is now available locally? Savannah Ridge Farms, operating in Indianola, Illinois, has been expanding their yak herd in central Illinois for nearly 2 years, offering local farm-to-table meat containing absolutely no antibiotics, no hormones, or steroids. Savannah Ridge Farms raises free-range yaks, fed organic grass and hay in chemical-free open land. They are humanely raised and harvested locally. Yak meat is one of the best sources of protein and is nearly 100% fat-free. So if you want healthy, nutrient-dense, vitamin-packed red meat without the worry of how it got to your plate, visit SavannahRidgeFarms.com and check out their Facebook page. They deliver to Champaign and Vermilion counties. You can even pick them up at their farm. It's SavannahRidgeFarms.com.
Come see what's new for spring at Merle Norman. Our Airy Color Collection features weightless washes of color for eyes and lips. New 97% natural and plant-based soft touch shadow glides seamlessly over lids for silky sheer to vibrant color. Choose from 9 versatile singles. Top off your eye look with 4 limited edition rosy shades of nourishing tinted lip balm. Shop while supplies last. The Airy Color Collection is available now at 706 West Market View Drive in Champaign.
Live the Champaign life. Town Place Suites by Marriott in Champaign Campus Town. Town Place Suites is excited to be your home for all traveling needs at the University of Illinois campus. Looking forward to seeing you for Mom's Weekend, April 14th, and graduation May 12th. Town Place Suites is a proud member of Champaign Center Partnership.
When you live the Champaign life.
Champaign Center Partnership. Learn more at ChampaignCenter.com.
If you're looking for a pre-owned car, truck, or van, look no further than Sarah Champagne. You know them for their 5 incredible vehicle brands, the BMW, Honda, Subaru, Buick, and GMC. But did you know they also have over 100 used cars, trucks, and vans in stock right now? And at Sarah Champagne, they will take care of you. You can trust them. And prices begin at under $2,000. Stop by Sarah Champagne. They're at Burwash and Savoy, or go online. SarahChampagne.com. That's Sarah, S-E-R-R-A, Champagne.com.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery. It's time to come home to Carpet Weavers. We don't want you to just like your new floors. We want you to love them. From waterproof floors and carpet to furnitures and design advice, we've got a team of experts on your side. We'll get you the best price and the best quality products. And complete your home with furniture and accessories. Buy it all with free financing too. Come home to Carpet Weavers, where floors, furniture, and family meet.
Racing, racing, racing! Farmer City Racing has a full show of late models, modifieds, and street stocks battling it out for the big prize money on Dirt Car Racing's Track of the Year. Sponsors like Illini Overhead Door help make your Friday Night Lights racing experience terrific. Get pit passes now with discounts for veterans and young fans under 12. Visit FarmerCityRacing.com. You'll buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
So what does Greenview Nursery do? Among many services they provide is keeping your plants happy with mowing, fertilization, pruning, pest and disease control programs, along with edging, weeding, and mulching. They can keep your plant beds looking their best, and they can add color to your seasonal annuals as well. They can do everything necessary to provide a worry-free magazine cover kind of lawn all year long. Achieve the happy landscape with Greenview Landscaping, when only the best will do. Discover Greenview for the first time. Visit Greenview.com.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands from Lands Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Right now at Lands, it's a great time to buy a new Trane heating and cooling system. We are offering special financing or up to $1,500 off any qualifying Trane system. At Lands, we know what it takes to deliver exceptional comfort, and we offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you are thinking of a new comfort system, now is the time to buy. And remember, it's hard to stop a Trane. I'm Troy Lands, and you can count on my company because you can count on me.
Subject to credit approval, see store for details.
Hey, Illini fans, it's Georgia B. Catch my boys Lante and Derek Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 on The Drive. Boom, boom, brr.
All right, it is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper, Lante, Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk in as well. On the text line, Joel said, Diane should come on and talk hockey. She did a good job this morning chatting it up. So there you go. Diane Ducey is our Darren Pang here at the radio station. And Cliff and Urbana, as bad as the Cardinals pitching has been so far this season, the starters still have more quality starts than Lon has worked full shows since the season started. That is hashtag stat of the day. Pretty much every time I leave early, I get a text from Cliff that says part-timer. I get it every time. That's all he says. I don't even have to answer it. Usually I'm driving to a game. I don't have, I don't want to be texting and driving, so I don't answer it. I just look down, I get a chuckle, and I'm like, okay, I deserve that. So and today, by the way, I'm leaving early. So we're hosting Prairie Central today, everybody wearing blue in honor of Prairie Central and the two young men that passed away. So I know a lot of schools have done this, and I know at Andrew's school they raised some money for the school. So I think they're excited to present that tonight. And, boy, it really puts things in perspective. Stuff like that happens.
Absolutely.
It's, you can sit there and say, well, I wish you'd hit more. I wish you'd pitch better. I wish you wouldn't make an error. I wish you'd do this. I wish you'd do this. And you're just glad that they're here to do it. So that really is something that hits heavy. It gets me a little caught up when you have, especially everybody can understand it, but when you have children that age, it really, really hits you. So 217, guys, NHL lottery standings, the Ducks with 58 points, 0 games left. The Hawks had 59 points, and the Blue Jackets with 59. So the Ducks look to be in the best shape to get that. The Blue Jackets even have 1 game left. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But the Blues have 3 first-round picks. So the Blackhawks are going to have a really high draft pick, and then the Blues have 3 in the first round. So it'll be the first time in a long time I've paid attention to the NHL draft, which is coming up. NFL draft is around the corner.
It is.
There is some interesting things going on with that. And, of course, the Bears traded out of that 1. I know you had to do that, and that was the right move, and you made a great move in doing it, but there is something cool about having that. I mean, everything bad happened to where you get the number 1 pick, but going into draft night, which it's the end of this month, there is something cool about knowing you're number 1 on the clock, right? You're on the board. But the Bears, of course, trade out of that. I think
still
you guys
sitting at 9, which I'm excited about.
I think, man, if you get Skoronski from Northwestern, whoever gets him is going to get an offensive lineman. Listen, something could happen. Injuries could happen. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I think you could get an offensive lineman for the next 10 years. And, man, when you can get guys like that and then basically hoping everything stays healthy, et cetera, to know for the next 8 seasons or whatever that you've got that position is covered. I mean, I know it's not sexy, but, man, when you get a chance to get a guy like him or there's another good offensive lineman
there's another one that's more of a right tackle.
Yes.
If they want to keep Braxton Jones at left tackle, who did a pretty good job last year in that spot. So, to go out and make sure that number 1 pick brings back a number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore.
Boom.
You get Chase Claypool, who I hope turns out to be a productive wide receiver, worth giving up that second-round pick that you received for the Roquan trade. At least you gave up Roquan, got a second. You traded a second for Claypool. As I look at it, I'm always going to compare, at least as of right now, what the Eagles have done to put the right talent around Jalen Hurts. They've had one of the better offensive lines. They've had a good running game, which the Bears have had and did this past year. Of course, Fields is part of that, as is Hurts. But the wide receiver corps, maybe not directly comparable because A.J. Brown trumps everybody, even DJ Moore in terms of talent. And Devontae Smith, he's better.
Hey, it's Stevie J. I got a brand new Stever for you.
There you go.
What's up, Stevie? He trumps Darnell Mooney, but still, that would make me feel very good as a Bears fan. They actually put some weapons around Fields, and then they went and got the help necessary on one of the corners to keep Justin Fields clean.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be cool, and I think there will be some trades. The other day I had you guys listen to Greeny, right, on ESPN. I really like Greeny. But every day he talks about the New York Jets. Every day. And I know they're kind of in the conversation right now with the Aaron Rodgers thing, but then sometimes I get literally, I'll sit there in the car and talk to myself and say, Greeny, we don't need to hear about the Jets every day. And then every time I talk about the NFL, I always somehow happen to get back to the Arizona Cardinals. But the Cardinals are in an interesting spot here in this draft because obviously the top two teams you feel like will take quarterbacks, although now the new thing is a lot of people are thinking Houston may say, nope, we're not doing quarterback. We're going to go Will Anderson. And then all of a sudden the Cardinals, that would actually probably, I know the Cardinals would love to have Anderson, but that would actually then open the floodgates, I think, at 3, where you'd have about 4 or 5 different teams trying to trade up with the Cardinals, and they could get, maybe not what the Bears got, obviously, but they could get quite a bounty to move down in this draft. And then, of course, you've got Devin Witherspoon, who is a kid that I think the highest I've seen him project, well, I think I saw one that was like 3. I don't know that that's going to happen, but the one that because I look at a lot of mock drafts, the one area that it seems like he's landing a lot is Detroit at 6. So
they just traded Jeff Okudah, who was a recent first-round pick.
That. Okay,
at corner.
Interesting. So maybe maybe they've already somewhat penciled in either he or Christian Gonzalez, who's the cornerback out of Oregon.
I saw one recent mock draft having the Raiders getting Witherspoon. I think that would be at 7 or thereabouts.
They're at 7, I believe. So. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to be a top 10 draft pick, which is awesome. And then, of course, you've got Sidney Brown, Chase Brown. I think Sidney would be next off the list, then maybe Quan, and then probably Chase. But I think those 4 will be drafted. Have you guys – oh, go ahead.
There's talk of Quan being like a second-round pick.
Oh, really? So he may go above Sid. That would be interesting. Okay.
I think I can't remember which one as far as mock drafts I was looking at, but it had him as a late – second-round pick. I think it was Mel Kiper on ESPN.
Which makes sense. Corner more so than safety.
And there was another example. There have been so many national media who I get it. They're probably not watching Illinois games during the season, but afterwards they're diving into film on Devin Witherspoon, and even Mike Gola Jr. yesterday tweets out
that
this Illinois defense is sick. Like Witherspoon's
Smash
so
mouth at the
physical,
line of
like
scrimmage.
they'll stack the box, play one-on-one, and just punch you in the mouth. And it's pretty cool that they're getting that notoriety.
Yes.
That it wasn't defense that was the number 1 scoring defense in the country. At the same time, then it makes you think, man, that team should have won the Big Ten West.
I know.
To have that kind of defense and to see where these guys are going to go in the draft, that part is disappointing.
Since we're on this dive of football, Kyle, you can weigh in on this. I was thumbing through some old News Gazette's sports pages because I keep them and obviously read them, but I look for any kind of a tidbit that has Andrew's name. I cut it out, old school. That happened quite a bit seemingly in basketball, not really happening in baseball. So we got to get that turn. Maybe
still
tonight.
Early in the season.
Maybe tonight. Maybe tonight it'll change. But I was reading they had a look at all of the other Big Ten teams. It was a great piece, and it was a look at the other Big Ten teams, who their quarterback is, and then when they play Illinois. Now, obviously, you're not going to play everybody in the Big Ten, so Ohio State, you don't have to play. Michigan, you don't have to play. Michigan State, you don't have to play. So there's some of those teams. So when I was going through that, I just put W or L in the paper as I was going through, and I believe I had Illinois winning 6 Big Ten games.
Sign me up.
So when I started, it got me thinking, I want to look at the schedule again. And so I pull up the schedule. You start with, I believe it's Toledo. I'll let Kyle actually pull it up. And I believe it's Toledo, and then you go to Kansas. Kansas is like a 6-hour drive. So if, chances are good you're going to be 1-0 going to Kansas. I think that'd be a cool little road trip. Number one, it'd be cooler if you were going to play Kansas in basketball. We all know that, right?
Of course.
But it would be neat to go to the campus. I've never been to Kansas campus in Lawrence. I'd love to go see the basketball. What's it called? Why can't I think of it?
Fog Allen.
Fog Allen. I would love to kind of see that. I don't know that you can go in, but it'd be cool to at least see where it's at. I love kind of walking on another campus. I did that a few years ago with Ole Miss. And I started thinking to myself, I mean, Kansas is better, don't get me wrong, but it would be interesting to be able to win that game and go 2-0. And then you come home, Kyle, for
Penn State.
That's right. And how big would that be? The Penn State removes the Nebraska as the big game early, right? Nebraska, the last seemingly 4 or 5 years, has been that big early game that, that's going to tell us a lot, or, boy, that'd be a big win. Now you've got James Franklin bringing his team here. I think they're searching for a new quarterback. I think they're a little bit low on wide receivers. Now they've got 2 stud running backs, so you know that Penn State can come in here and ground it. But, I mean, isn't that what Illinois kind of wants this year, especially with Newton and Randolph and that defensive line? I am fine with guys that think they're going to beat us via the run. I'm not saying they can't, but if you're going to come in and do this season, I'd rather see you try to run against us than try to throw it all over, because we're replacing 4 guys in that secondary. So,
and Sean Clifford's finally gone, right?
He is gone. He is gone
after 8 years.
And then who's your 4th game?
Florida Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, the Owls that made the big run in the tournament. So, I don't know. I started looking at that, and I started thinking to myself, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go right, but if Illinois could jump out 3-1 or even 4-0.
And then you had to face your old pal Ryan Walters at Purdue after that.
At Purdue. Because it seems like some of the schedule is pretty good this season in terms of home, away, home. Like you don't have 2 away games in a row or anything like that. So I don't know. I started looking at that, and I started getting pretty excited about this Illinois schedule for football. I know we're a long way off, but I got a little excited.
I'll be interested to see what that Kansas team looks like this year.
Same here.
Because their quarterback got hurt late in the season. Imagining he's back, right?
I don't think he is.
He's not?
Well, you know who I'm thinking of? Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking of Minnesota because their quarterback,
Tanner Morgan?
Yeah, that was there for 18 years. He got hurt, and then they brought in the other kid that's now their starter, and he wasn't very productive. So
Jalen Daniels is back for Kansas.
He was electric last year. They had one of the best offenses in college football.
That's not the kid that transferred from Arizona State, is it? Daniels? No. I can't remember that kid's name. So he is back for Kansas. Who's Kansas's coach?
It is.
Isn't it somebody that was in the Big Ten?
Well, it was the guy that
Lance Leipold.
Oh, that's right. The guy we almost hired.
Yeah.
Before Brett. So
I still remember watching that MAC title game and seeing Buffalo lose and be like, this is going to be such a lackluster.
That's who we're hiring.
Hard to hype up hire. He had the credentials of a good build there at Buffalo, and of course all the experience at Wisconsin Whitewater.
I believe that's right, and he's done well at Kansas.
Really well at Kansas. So can I offer this? We should make this now. I know we say this every year. We pick a cool destination spot and say, let's take the radio show on the road. We really should do that for Lawrence. We should go.
I'm good. I'm in.
You and Kyle. Get Bill Self on as a guest.
Yep. That would be awesome.
Let's make it happen.
I would love to do that because today I started, Andrew and I always try to take Andrew to an away game. So I was kind of looking at the closer Missouri, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss. I think he wants to go back to that campus again. And then Tennessee, right? Tennessee's a pretty good haul. But I was looking at those and trying to figure out when is Illinois on the road and who, are they at home at the time. So I was looking down there. One of the games is Vanderbilt plays Georgia at Vandy. I couldn't even find tickets. Like they're already sold out. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. I think that was it. Don't quote me on that. But I think and it was amazing. Like when you'd look at like Texas A&M, the tickets would be like $89. But if you're playing Georgia, they're like $300, which is a smart idea.
Nuts.
You know what's going to happen there. But I'm all in for Lawrence because, one of the places I've never been in my life is Kansas City. And I've always wanted to go through Kansas City, so I thought it would be cool. Now, this was before the idea of maybe doing the show there, but I thought after the show on a Friday that weekend, Andrew and I could take off and get close to or just stay in Kansas City maybe. Now, it'd be late at night, but then I would like to do the game Saturday and then maybe hit Kansas City Sunday early and just kind of maybe walk around, do different things in Kansas City because I've never been. I know you've been.
Barbecue.
Yes, definitely. For sure. And there's Tays.
Yeah, forget the show. Let's go on vacation. Let's take a trip.
I mean, we can run. There's a Cardinals game or something that day.
Let's leave
maybe.
Kyle here to solo.
Yeah.
He's going to do the Colin Cowherd solo radio 2 hours.
All right,
Kyle can do it.
Real quick, because we brought it up, but we didn't get to it. The what if segment.
I know, man.
The one thing, but we can tackle these as we go along.
Yeah.
The idea is I'd love for listeners to kind of think of different scenarios, like what if this, and see what happens there. Like you could be like for the Blues, what if Jordan Bennington never was on that Blues team? You don't want a Stanley Cup. But the one thing I thought of is what if Albert Pujols ended up staying in St. Louis his entire career instead of going to the Angels? What if?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I want to share them, but I don't want to spoil them at the same time.
You keep yours. And
here's one. What if Kyle Hudson didn't drop the punt against Michigan in 2007?
That's a good one.
I went and dug up some of that.
Oh, wow.
The game script, and then obviously Illinois didn't lose the rest of the regular season.
What if the officials don't suck every time when we play Michigan?
Yeah.
What if they don't favor Michigan every time we play Michigan in football?
What if John Gross would have gotten Jalen Brunson?
Did you ever think Jalen Brunson would be this good in the NBA?
I was always pretty high on him.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he was a little undersized.
But
I didn't doubt him sticking around a long time in the NBA. I didn't know that he'd be. He's a star now. He's a max contract kind of guy. I didn't know that was going to happen.
I agree. It's amazing. So these are some of the things we're bringing up and some thoughts that we can dive into, because I'd love to dive into those two things that you just talked about.
I've got a Cubs one too.
Oh, Scott just said, what if Nick Anderson came back?
Ooh.
Yeah? What if
probably throw that for Darren Williams.
What if Darren Williams came back? That's exactly right. I mean, I think it's it's such a simplistic thing. What if, but how many times do we say that when we're just talking sports with each other and just, boy, can you imagine if this would have happened, or what if that would have happened? So if you've got anything that's out there that you're thinking about on a topic, I think that'd be cool to drive some conversation about something like that. I got to hear your Cubs one now.
What if Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood would have stayed healthy?
Do you know what? I thought the same thing. That's eerie, because when I thought of that today, I thought of Pujols, and then I thought of a Cubs, and the one I thought of, what if Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor stay healthy? Those two were lights out when they were on. They were really
I remember
good.
Early 2000s. What I wrote down is early 2000s, the D-backs had a lights-out duo at the top of the rotation, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. They could have been the next version of that.
I totally agree. Power pitcher and Kerry Wood. I mean, Mark Pryor could throw. Don't get me wrong. He's not like he's soft-tossed, but Wood was more of the power guy, right? Yeah, that's a good one. That would be a really good one. Dan said Harper to that 84 team, his senior season. That would have been awesome on that 84 squad that won the Big Ten, tied for the Big Ten. What if Brian Randall didn't punch the wall? Would he have helped us a lot that year?
I don't know about a lot.
But he could have helped.
Could have been a bench piece. I don't think he's the difference in beating Carolina or not.
I agree.
I think the obvious what if for that season is what if Augustine doesn't have 4 fouls in 10 minutes of action.
He played like 9 minutes that game.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at that box score, and it just absolutely brought anger to me immediately. I think he played like 9 minutes that game. I'd love to know the least minutes of any other game that season that he played. It had to have been in the 20s. And all of a sudden in the national title game, he plays 9.
What if Eric Gordon doesn't decommit from Illinois?
Yeah, because I think that would have extended Bruce. There's no doubt. I like this one, Eric. What if Mike Krzyzewski would have moved into his house he bought in Bahamas? This is a good one, too. What if Illinois football won all of its one-score games last season? Now, that's more of a fact. Like, we know what that would be. If they would have won the West. They would have played for the Big Ten championship in that game, and they would have been in probably a New Year's Six bowl, right? I mean, that's an actual fact that you can get to with that what if. Whereas, as funny as that is, I love the idea. Oh, we got to go. I just noticed the time. My fault, Pipes.
Good.
That is kind of funny, though, like the Krzyzewski one. What if Mike Krzyzewski would have come and taken over this Illinois program? I mean, we could have fun with that. I think that'd be cool.
Good. We're late. We got to get out of here. Lon's going to play. Are you not going to play?
No, well, no, we don't want that.
Lon's pinch hitting. Right. No, he's going to watch some baseball. It's a great night
From
for it.
the left side, Tay digs in.
Kyle and I are going to take over the rest of the way. We'll play some Tom Izzo, Matt Painter audio. Also, we only got to about 5 minutes of Brad Underwood. Want to play some more of that as well. It's the better alternative than listening to my voice. What's left of it. We're getting through it on a Friday. On the other side, we'll do all of what I just said. It is The Drive.
There's a huge catalog of rentals. Whether you're looking for a contractor, a do-it-yourself project, landscaping help, wedding rentals, or even party and event rentals like bounce houses, manager Scott Allen has what you need.
We have a really nice rental fleet. Our equipment we try to keep new, clean, in good operation, and at a super reasonable price.
Paxton Hardware and Rental, 217-379-3611.
You're going to get first-class, first-rate service here at Paxton Hardware and Rental.
The Rays have out-homered their opponents. They have more allowed.
Buster Olney on Fitz and Harry, 6-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman.
Still allowing for electronic notices to draftees, signaling a plan to conscript more Russian citizens to fight in Ukraine as a spring offensive is likely. Breaking this hour, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is halting lower court rulings that limited access to abortion pills. The planes are flying in and out of Fort Lauderdale again, following 2 days of closures due to rain.
I love Florida. I'm not going to lie, but I'm ready to get home to New York, especially since it's 85 there. We're hoping that we take off on time. Our flight's delayed about 2 hours, but we knew about that ahead of time.
More than 2 feet of rain flooded out roads and neighborhoods. The USFL is back. Games begin tomorrow. Watch them on Fox. Just before the close on Wall Street, the Dow was down 160. America is listening to Fox News.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me.
Nope. Nuh-uh. Oh no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
What if your home's title, the document that proves you own your home, is in some criminal's name? That's home title theft. Home titles are online, and once a criminal forges your signature, he'll take out loans against your home, or worse, sell it. Home Title Lock helps shut it down. They do better than anyone. Has some criminal taken over the title to your home? Find out for free and get 30 free days of protection with sign up. Use promo code radio at HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code radio at HomeTitleLock.com.
Our American soldiers have historically been considered paragons of physical fitness, but a new study shows they're not being all they can be. Lillian Wu explains.
U.S. Army recruits are more out of shape than ever, according to a study, and the U.S. military is spending millions because of it. The study in the journal Progress in Cardiovascular Diseases found that lack of fitness led to an alarming rate of injuries going through initial entry training. The data from fiscal year 2017 found nearly 35% of the trainees suffered at least one musculoskeletal injury, racking up nearly $15 million in treatment costs, with the problem most pronounced among women. The study's authors also found recruits from the South were more prone to problems in terms of trainee injuries, accounting for 8 of the 10 worst performing states. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Former Vice President Mike Pence, one of several Republicans rumored to be running for president, is calling for convicted mass shooters to face tougher consequences.
I believe the time has come to institute a federal death penalty statute with accelerated appeal to ensure that those who engage in mass shootings face execution in months, not years.
Speaking at the NRA Leadership Forum in Indianapolis and after 2 mass shootings in Tennessee and in Kentucky. That natural gas pipeline from Alaska could be back on track to be built. The U.S. Department of Energy is approving the order for the project to build a mega pipe from Alaska to transport liquefied natural gas overseas. The project was announced originally in 2020, but environmental activists have been fighting against its construction. I'm Eben Brown, and this is Fox News.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Check. I literally just create madness.
Well, they're up.
I'm going to go off here.
They don't have a great quarterback.
I got to take a break. I'm getting in trouble.
To win the Big Ten, you first got to win the West.
Bad Bunny.
Have you heard his name in a while?
No.
Has it bothered you?
No. Defensively, they got to come in with some confidence.
Is that even analytics?
I'm in a parking garage, kind of lost.
Terrence Shannon, Matthew Meyer, R.J. Melendez, Coleman Hawkins.
These trophy presentations aren't over!
I didn't come here to go 5-7.
I'm so proud of Illinois football right now. I'm so tired of Joel Embiid.
We're not taking Patrick Corbin.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
You are Reba McEntire's niece.
Roshan Russell.
Coach Bielma.
You no longer salute to yourself.
What?
We got all kinds of things for you here.
There's a lot of glass.
Oh.
Guys, we have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
It's The Drive.
Smack Dogs.
Thunderstruck! Yeah, Thunderstruck!
Back on The Drive with Tane Piper, Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. On a Friday, gutting it out. As you can tell, I don't have my full arsenal today. Kind of like Hayden Wisniewski every time Lante bets on him. Sorry, Kyle, that was a cheap shot.
I was hoping he was pitching this weekend so that Lon wouldn't be aware, but it's actually Monday. So
we won't say anything, I promise. We'll not say a word. We should mention the Cubs in action tonight. We talked about it yesterday. 7 of the next 10 for the Cubs against the Dodgers, 3 in LA. They'll play 3 against Oakland out there on the West Coast and then come back to Chicago for a 4-game set against the Dodgers. Tonight, Justin Steele against Noah Syndergaard. Now, it's not the Thor of the past, a guy that's throwing like 98 plus on a regular basis, and Steele's been really good. Has he given up an earned run this year?
He's given up 1 in 12 innings.
Wow. So how do you feel about that one kicking off the series? I think from a pitching standpoint, you guys got the advantage.
I'd say so. I think this is a good one to get if you're going to get one this weekend with Jameson Taillon going tomorrow. He has not looked particularly good. I'm not sure who's pitching for the Dodgers. Grove? Well, not sure I've heard that name before.
Michael Grove. I believe he's a rookie.
And then Sunday is Drew Smyly versus Julio Urias, so I'm not liking that one.
You're going to
want to
get this one tonight.
Let's get the Justin Steele start tonight. Toss it up tomorrow, see what happens, and at least have one in your back pocket for Sunday. I'll take one of 3 here in LA. I'll be satisfied with that.
No doubt. Cardinals back in action tonight, trying to make up for what was a dud to start the series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. 5-0 last night. Couldn't figure out Vince Velasquez for whatever reason, but that was frustrating. The bullpen did not look good either. Jake Woodford on the mound for the Cardinals had a really good spring training, but so far hasn't translated to the regular season. He boasts a 0-2 record with a 9.00 ERA. Will face a familiar face. I know that sounded a little weird, but Johan Oviedo, who was the
Johan Oviedo revenge game.
Yeah,
tonight.
That's now that you said it, it makes me a little dicey on how that's going to look. He's 1-0, 3.18 ERA. He's been decent to start this season. We talk about Cardinals killers, and I know that every team is going to have guys that have hurt their teams on a regular basis through the years. Andrew McCutchen seems to be that for the Cardinals, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if most people in the NL Central think that, because he was a hell of a player in Pittsburgh for a lot of years. Cool to see him back in a Pirates uniform. As we mentioned yesterday, it stinks for those in Pittsburgh that their young stud, O'Neal Cruz, is on the IL after was it a broken ankle?
I think so.
Broken foot or broken ankle on that slide into home last week. But Pirates 8-5, Cardinals 5-8. Cardinals need to get going a little bit more. Even though they didn't win the series there in Colorado, got to take care of business at home against the Pirates. I do want to play some more of Brad Underwood. We got into it some yesterday. We got about 5 minutes in from his availability there at Gordyville, and it cut off before he talked about Terrence Shannon as well as what he wants to do next in the portal. There's about 4 minutes that I want to get to, but before we lead into this, he discusses, and as you hear the train rolling by, he discusses what's next in terms of needs. Now, the obvious, and I don't think he's going to break any news here, but point guard is one that you obviously bring up. Big man help is something that seems to be of interest, where I think they could take some big swings in the front court, not assume that Dane Danger is going to be your starting 5-man going into next year. Now, one of those options has been crossed off the list. Jesse Edwards, the big man out of Syracuse, who was one of the top shot blockers in the country, a guy that averaged a double-double as well, just a pretty athletic 7-footer that can block shots, really good defender, and can play pick and roll, can offensive rebound and everything. He has cut his list down to 3. He's taken an official visit to West Virginia this weekend. That's one of his 3, along with Kansas and Gonzaga. Illinois had, from what I had heard, high interest in him, did not ultimately crack that list to where they were within serious consideration. So he's off of the board. You're going to see Kansas, and you have seen Kansas prominently mentioned with some big-time big men, including Hunter Dickinson. On the note of visits, we mentioned yesterday Hunter's going to take 2 this weekend while he's back home on the East Coast. He's going to go to Maryland. He's going to go to Georgetown. And it was announced today, reported by our Kansas site on 24/7, that he will take an official visit to Lawrence next week. So, Kyle, what do you think of Kansas being a big player for Dickinson, also Jesse Edwards, and Illinois' pursuit of a big man, although it sounds like it's going to take some time and maybe we don't have one we can pinpoint right now of, okay, that's going to be the guy?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea to add I'd hope that if Illinois is going to add, not to say that they couldn't add a backup to Dane or a complement to him, but it's just harder to sell a guy on, if you're going to go get a big man from the portal, you're probably going to have to promise him the starting 5 spot. So it is an interesting idea. I would want it to be a surefire starter, a proven guy, a guy that is probably an upgrade immediately over Dane. Not to say that Dane couldn't beat him out with a really good offseason, but I think it's something that I hadn't really thought about after Dane had returned and with some of the rumors about Coleman maybe coming back. The focus has been on guard, and before you get to Mask and Harmon was getting a wing, and point guard's obviously the big thing. But I think that pair Coleman with a really good defensive big man in the front court and trot out one of the best defensive front courts when you pair a shot blocker or rim protecting big with Coleman, and you're talking about one of the best defensive front courts potentially in the Big Ten for sure, and maybe even nationally when you look at whoever that guy is. Now, that's the thing, is you mentioned those guys, Jesse Edwards being off the board. I don't exactly know who that name would be, but it's an intriguing thought. It's one that I hadn't really thought about until recently, but I think it could be an interesting fit there.
Yeah, I think that if it's a surefire stud where there's no question of that player being your starting 5-man, like obviously Hunter Dickinson would be that. Right. He's not going to be scared of Dane Danger eating into his minutes. If you have somebody that's more of a Caden Shedrick, who Illinois was highly interested in, and I mentioned it kind of on the front end, while the fit would have been something that they liked in terms of his defense. He's different than Dane, and that he's longer and rangier. Maybe not longer because Dane has a 7'6" wingspan or whatever it is, but more of that rangy 5-man that has some skill offensively and just a different piece. With Dane coming back and Coleman having the potential to return, and knowing that Coleman, any 5-man out there, especially one that isn't going to be afraid of competition because they're just that much of a established star already, like Hunter, is going to look and say, Coleman played a decent amount to 5 last year. Am I not only in competition with Dane, am I in competition with Coleman as well? And we talked a little bit about this off the air. Now, I think Jesse Edwards, it would have made sense to bring him at the 5. He would slot over Dane in terms of starting, and you could play Coleman with him. Now, I mentioned that Coleman has to shoot the 3 better, especially for this to work. I think just in general, whether he's going to play the 5 as kind of that pick and pop 5-man or as a legitimate stretch 4 that really gives some teams the thought that, hey, if we don't guard him on the perimeter, he's going to hit those shots. But we talked off the air, and I asked, what do you think about going forward if Coleman does come back? The idea of him still playing some 5, I think, is still pretty appealing. And as we were going through our projected starting lineups as of now, if, like, let's say Shannon and Hawkins do come back, I know you mentioned wanting to slot Ty Rodgers in there and maybe having Coleman play the 5.
Yeah, I think as you look at it now, if Illinois doesn't add another front court piece, and again, a lot can change over the summer, and guys can improve. Dane can take a big step. You never know about that kind of stuff. But basing off what we saw last year, I think what worked for Illinois late in the season was Coleman at the 5, that lineup where you go a little bit smaller. Coleman's able to stretch the floor a little bit, especially against guys like Edey and Trace. Coleman was able to bring those guys away from the rim, which just opens up Illinois' offense, especially last year, hopefully not as much this year in terms of not being able to shoot and needing to get a lot of looks inside and opening up driving lanes. But that's still going to be a big part if you get Terrence back and you get a point guard. So I think theoretically right now in your scenario, I'd want to go with obviously a transfer point guard, Shannon. Hawkins would start at the 5, and then I think I would go Marcus Domask at the 3 and Ty Rodgers at the 4, and I'd bring Dane off the bench. I think that lineup could cause some problems. It's a long lineup. It's one that I think just is a matchup problem for some of these Big Ten teams that are trotting out these traditional bigs. And me personally, like I think Ty Rodgers is going to be so darn good next year. I want him in my starting lineup. I know that it might not happen that way maybe at the beginning of the year, but I think he's going to be awesome. I want him getting as many minutes as possible. And then to add a shooter like Domask in the lineup, he could easily come off the bench. But I don't know. I think that lineup could work.
I like that lineup, and I think that also another dynamic of it is it has multiple guys that can play make. Like Ty Rodgers, one that showed us can play in some ball screens, can involve his teammates, get to the rim. I think his passing is going to take another step forward. It's something that was a huge strength for him in high school, and we saw a little bit of flashes of it. Mostly it was him in ball screens just getting to the rim, and it was hard to stop him from doing that. I think passing-wise and just kind of his feel and involving other people is going to be a highlighted aspect of his game going forward. Domask, high assist rate, high IQ player. If he's in that lineup with Ty and Domask shooting from the outside can maybe, and if Coleman can do that too, can take away some of the concerns about bogging down in the paint. That's a concern if you play Ty and Dane together.
Yes.
Because if Ty's not shooting from the outside, Dane's going to be camped out in the paint, and even Dane's presence around the rim, some would say, is maybe not even the most ideal thing for Terrence Shannon Jr. trying to go downhill too. So I think
we saw that a lot at the end of last year.
I agree. I think there's something to be said for the multiple playmakers within that. Add in that point guard. You hope it's a high caliber decision maker and someone that elevates other people as well as shooting the 3. I think that it needs to be a guy that can knock down perimeter shots and also be a guy that plays in the pick and roll too. So I like that lineup personally. I am not selling stock on or moving away from, hey, Illinois needs to get a 5-man because Coleman doesn't work at the 5. Now, I understand why you'd want Hunter Dickinson. I understand why you'd want Jesse Edwards. Would you be interested at all in a 4-man? Like, what if it was a quote-unquote stud 4 that's going to – maybe that doesn't make as much sense because if Ty is going to be trying to get more opportunity. But I think it's interesting if they get a 4 and then play Coleman at the 5 versus, maybe – being doubled down on, we got to get a 5 to play Coleman at the 4. What do you think about that?
It'd have to be the right guy. I think it'd have to be a guy that could shoot it at a high level to make that lineup work, so that if you're sliding Ty over to the 3, or if you're trying to play that guy with Dane at times, I'd want that guy to be a high level 3-point shooter, a true stretch 4. I don't know. It's hard to. I'd need like a name in my head to try to.
How about the dude? I'm going to probably mispronounce his name, but the guy from Tennessee, Olivier Nakamawa.
I think it's.
Or how do you say it?
Kamwa?
Kamwa. Is the N silent?
I think so.
Olivier Kamwa.
I'm just thinking about what the broadcasters were saying when I was watching Tennessee in the
They're
tournament.
totally right. I told you I was going to mispronounce it. I did. I lived up to my promises, but. A guy that put 27 on Duke in the NCAA tournament. Also had a game earlier in the season where he had 27 against Texas. So someone that's played really well against high-level competition. Started at Tennessee last year, played about 25 minutes a game. He's in the portal, and he's like a 6'8", 6'9", strong 4-man. The Illinois actually recruited out of high school and lost that battle to Tennessee. That's one that comes to mind as a potential option.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the more seamless fit on this roster would be another 5, and then you just make Coleman your full-time 4 with either big man, whether it's Dane or a transfer that's playing alongside of him, and then you can space the floor with some of your wings after that. But I don't know. It would be a tougher fit for me if you know that Coleman is coming back. Obviously, a guy like that would fit much better if Coleman's gone and you need to replace that. With Coleman back, I think he is as much as I like the idea of Coleman at the 5, if there is no front court addition, I think obviously the ideal spot for him would be that stretch 4 if he can shoot it a little bit better and he can play in that high post a little bit more. So, yeah, I don't know. That fit would be a little tougher for me. It'd probably have to be the perfect guy in terms of skill set, and I don't know if that guy's out there right now.
On the U of I Atlantic League text line of 651 says, don't forget Hansberry. I think he's going to earn some minutes. I agree with you. I think that Hansberry's going to come in and be someone they want to get on the floor this upcoming season. They're not going to sacrifice and say, because we have Amani coming, that we're not going to try and get a big swing at a 5-man. I still come back to, yes, they're still technically in the mix for Hunter Dickinson. I don't see that happening. And even as you look at the national reporting of those that are thought to be legitimately in the mix, it's Maryland, it's Georgetown, it's Kansas, it's to an extent Kentucky, and also Villanova. I know that Eric Bossi from 24/7 Sports wrote that Villanova is probably a team that is drawing behind the scenes a lot of buzz beyond those that are the obvious, which is Maryland, Georgetown, and we've heard Kansas too. So I'd still be surprised if Hunter to Illinois is a legitimate thing. In terms of, I'll come back to, does it make sense for Illinois to shoot their shot? And
when you know you've got...
Oh, boy. All the commercials to play.
We are in shambles here. Our board is on one. Our board has decided to have a mind of its own today, so we're getting through it though. It makes sense for Illinois to talk to Hunter as long as he's giving feedback and wanting to talk to Illinois. And yes, you have the relationship with Terrence, and the NIL is there as well. So I think that's something that makes sense as long as it seems like you're not wasting your time. And beyond that, just another big man, whether it's one that's going to become available or is available right now, which Edwards would have been one. I understand doing that, but to go back on the point that the texter was making, Hansberry's, in my mind, mostly a small ball 5 early. I think that as his jumper develops, we'll see where it's at when he first comes in, can determine whether he's going to play the 4 or not. But right now, I think he's ideally that small ball 5. And I think he could play with Coleman in a sense, especially if Coleman can stretch the floor, as I'm hoping he would going forward. Bill from Troy says nearly everyone out west either plays 5 out or high post, roving post. Isn't Coleman an ideal high post with his passing and IQ? Yeah, I think the only thing missing from the high post or even just that 5 out big man is the 3-point shooting, at least consistently.
Yep.
For him to be a 28% 3-point shooter, you don't fear him as much on those pick and pops. Although I think when he's a set catch and shoot guy from the line and not 30 feet out or taking a step back, his numbers are probably a decent amount better. But correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, didn't we mostly see Dane, like when they played the spread, which I don't know if they're going to play that primarily going into next year with a legit point guard. I think that was kind of the pivot when you didn't have that guy.
I'd hope they don't, to be honest with you.
I'm 100% with you. But Dane was mostly the pinch post guy. Yep. It wasn't Coleman as much, even though Coleman seems, with his passing, seems more of an ideal fit.
Yeah, I that just doesn't seem to me like maximizing what Dane can be for you. I think if you get a point guard, and that's where I think he can really excel next year, is if you get a true playmaking point guard and you play more pick and roll, and he's your roll man, and he's able to work inside more and not having to be a playmaker for you. I think that is going to maximize what he can be a little bit more, and you're giving him more post touches and playing through him a little bit more. Now you have more shooting around him, so if you are playing through him in the post a little bit more when he's on the floor, he's got better options to kick out, and he's not garnering as much attention because guys aren't able to leave 3 of your 5 players on the floor open because you can't shoot it. That's what we saw last year. But yeah, I agree with you though. I was surprised about that. For a team that did play the spread so much in Big Ten play, I was surprised that Coleman wasn't that pinch post guy, because he seems like as good of a pinch post big as there is in the conference with the way that he passes it, the way he sees the floor, the way he understands the offense. But yeah, I hope that's not – I hope the roster is constructed so that is not Illinois' primary offense next year, because I think it's too predictable, too easy to defend. These coaches have seen it now, and we saw that a little bit late in the year.
There have to be pivots out of it. Like, you got to have more counters, more ball movement and cohesion, a lot more just ability to break off and go make a play, or be able to cut from a spot and run like the pinch post guy to run a pick and pop versus a pick and roll. If you're just running the simplistic spread, it is really easy to guard. And obviously Illinois, even you could argue last year, I don't necessarily say you need to argue it. You could state they didn't cut that hard. They didn't run it with enough energy and pop to it. So, and just in general, I think the way to go, if you have a dynamic on-ball point guard, is to play ball screen offense. And I think Illinois can run more sets. Like, I think that's something that if you have the right guys to get maybe a Marcus Damascus shot, but just kind of as your base offense, run that point guard off ball screens, allow him to break down the defense, then feed it out to different guys. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a set play, but if he sprays it to a corner or a wing and Damascus there and a guy closes out hard and he has the skill to drive that into the paint and the vision to find a cutter or find the next kick out, that's what you want. That's why you want multi-positional playmaking. That's why you want a dynamic point guard. We are going to get to a break before we play the rest of this Brad Underwood audio and also gear up a little bit of Matt Painter and Tom Izzo. But 2 more from Bill real quick. He said Ty is a weak side baseline player. I think that makes sense for having him be someone that can be kind of that dump off guy that can attack the rim. And also that's a good position as far as rebounding goes. We know that he can be a monster on the offensive glass. And then he asked, is there a Moussa Diabate clone available? I do think there is. I just think he's another class away, and his name is Merez Johnson. I don't think it's maybe the most perfect of comps, but I've heard that thrown around of that he can be a Moussa Diabate type, although I think Merez is going to play mostly as the 5 going forward in his career based on his projection. He has shown that his jump shot's gotten better here of late, so very curious to see how that translates or just progresses further on the EYBL circuit that's coming up here pretty soon this spring and summer. But I think with the length, the athleticism, some of those things, what he can bring defensively and possibly even stretch it out to 15, 18 feet, maybe Merez can be that guy.
I'm excited for Merez, man. He seems like he continues to get better. I obviously haven't seen him play like you have, but seems like there's some hype around him.
He's a physical monster, really strong, plays with a high motor, so tough. I think he's got a great upside defensively, rebounding-wise. Those are his calling cards right now. And when he gets the ball off the glass or gets it inside, he's a athletic and strong finisher. And now that he's added a little bit of skill, now admittedly sometimes you see some of that more in like his workouts versus some of his games, but this past year he did show a little bit as far as shooting some mid-range, being able to drive it a little bit more with the ball in his hands. So if that can translate and mature a little bit more as he goes through the rest of his high school career, I mean, he's got a lot of upside. He's a very big piece of Illinois' future and a lot to be excited about with him. Going to catch a break. When we come back, we'll play some Brad Underwood, who discusses what's next in the portal, also what Terrence Shannon's been up to here recently, and then we'll get to some Tom Izzo and Matt Painter before we get out of here. All that coming up next. It is The Drive.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery. Take a look around your home. Is it finally ready for some much-needed updates? If you don't know where to start, then just meet with one of our experts. We'll help you find the perfect waterproof plank floor for your kitchen or that stain-resistant, super soft carpet for your bedroom. Finish your room update with a custom sofa and chairs, or choose a trendy in-stock dining set that's priced right. Come home to Carpet Weavers, where floors, furniture, and family meet.
Looking to eat healthier and buy locally? Savannah Ridge Farms in Indianola, Illinois has been expanding their yak herd for nearly 2 years, offering local farm-to-table meat containing absolutely no antibiotics, no hormones, or steroids. Savannah Ridge Farms is raising 100% all-natural yaks that feed on organic grass and hay in chemical-free open land. Yak meat is one of the best sources of protein and is nearly 100% fat-free. So if you want healthy, nutrient-dense, vitamin-packed red meat without the worry of how it got to your plate, visit SavannahRidgeFarms.com and check out their Facebook page. They deliver to Champaign and Vermilion counties, and you can also pick them up at their farm. Visit SavannahRidgeFarms.com for incredibly healthy yak meat. That's SavannahRidgeFarms.com, SavannahRidgeFarms.com.
Upgrade your home comfort and save big with spring savings from Matex. Now, for a limited time, take up to $1,200 off select new heating and cooling systems from Central Illinois' most trusted service provider. Call today or schedule your appointment online. Feel the difference with the most trusted sewer service team in Central Illinois. From clogged pipes to broken sewer lines, you can trust the experts at Matex for quick and reliable residential service and repair. Call, text, or schedule your service online. Matex. Feel the difference.
Skincare lovers, listen up. Visit Merle Norman today for their limited edition Proven Pair gift set. Clinically proven to smooth the look of fine facial lines, this special duo features best-selling Pro Retinol Fine Line Minimizer Serum and protective anti-aging complex eye treatment, broad spectrum SPF 15. Also perfect for Mother's Day. Proven Pair gift set is available now while supplies last at Merle Norman, 706 West Market View Drive in Champaign, over by Subway.
Racing, racing, racing! Farmer City Racing has a full show of late models, modifieds, and street stocks battling it out for the big prize money on Dirt Car Racing's Track of the Year. Sponsors like Illini Overhead Door help make your Friday Night Lights racing experience terrific. Get pit passes now with discounts for veterans and young fans under 12. Visit FarmerCityRacing.com. You'll buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Sell your home with the trusted leader in local real estate, Ryan Dallas Real Estate. This is Ryan Dallas. We're the #1 team year after year with proven results and excellent service, backed by my guaranteed offer. Make your move with Ryan Dallas Real Estate.
If you received unemployment, your tax bill will be different than during the COVID pandemic. I'm Hillary Barsky with your Fox Business Tax Tip coming up after this.
Kelly's Accounting does all tax types, individual, corporate, trust, partnerships, and estate, plus payroll and bookkeeping services. Your guardian angel in the finance department. Call their Monticello office, 762-5509, or visit kellysaccounting.com.
Unlike at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, unemployment is now fully taxable. Tax attorney and CPA Alan J. Strauss explains.
During COVID, you had an exclusion. The government passed a law that allowed you to get $10,200 worth of unemployment tax-free on your federal return. That law is no longer with us, and every dollar you get for unemployment is fully taxable on a U.S. return.
Depending on where you live, states may give you a break on unemployment, so check your state status before filing. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Back on the drive with Tay and Piper, Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. Here on a Friday, so I got to get this out of the way. Don't want to get caught up in audio and have to end the show without doing this. So it's a Friday. You'd be mad at me if I didn't do it. I'd be mad at myself if I didn't do it. Cheers to you getting through another week. Cheers to this beautiful weather that we've had all week. Enjoy the low 80s that are out today. Perfect day if you're sitting out on the patio somewhere, if you're out on your back porch, wherever you are. You know what time it is. It's Friday.
Happy hour.
Now, before I get to this Brad Underwood audio from the other night there at Gordyville, where there were plenty of beverages being consumed, I was a little jealous as a media member. I could not partake, but I do want to mention this segment is brought to you by Game Day Spirit. 2 great locations. Anything and everything Illini. T-shirts, hats. Probably don't need those hoodies anymore, but some golf polos as you start to get out on the golf course would be great. Some hats for to keep your face in the shade if you're out at a baseball game. Maybe even get a Illini baseball T-shirt or a Illini softball T-shirt as you go out and represent Tyra Perry and Dan Hartlib squads.
I know I've seen those baby blue jerseys in there.
Are they still in there?
I don't know if
they were before. I hope they still have them.
But yeah, because I've kind of wanted to snag one, but I never have. So I hope they still have them.
Those are sick. And then of course some basketball uniforms if you want to gear up with those. They've got everything in anything that you could think of. Neil and Green, Game Day Spirit, a great sponsor of our show for a long time. Check them out. Also at GameDaySpirit.com. We're going to get to Brad Underwood. Heard a little bit from him yesterday, but he talked about what's next in the portal as well as what's up with Terrence Shannon Jr. I should note, as I did yesterday, at the time of meeting with the media, Terrence was not in the draft quite yet. He has declared. It is my understanding that his eligibility is still remaining. So Brad discussed that as well. Here is your Illini head coach, Brad Underwood.
Pieces, and then we'll look for a point guard. And, we've got our eyes on guys, and it's just a matter of, there's a lot of factors in this today for a lot of different reasons, and, you've got to match those same reasons with what they want, and so we'll keep grinding in those, and hopefully before long we have a few more.
In terms of fit on or off the
before. Is there anything you prioritize more this year after just reevaluating what you've done in the previous years?
Well, we didn't shoot the ball very well, and so that's one of the things that we've looked at and said, hey, we got to make baskets. And then we didn't, and I use the term elevate. We didn't elevate each other very well. We were a low assist team. We didn't have guys deliver balls when guys were coming open off screens. Post entries were a problem. We just didn't do some of the little things, and we've got to work on that. We got to get better at it. That's a priority for us, and looking for guys who have those abilities. And yet you still want toughness, and then we've obviously made it pretty clear we need to get a little older.
I can't help but notice Terrence has declared for the draft. I know you got to let those guys do their thing, but what is the interaction between you guys right now?
Great. He's in workouts every single day. He's working his tail off in the weight room. He's working really, really hard on his game. It's everybody's got to give those guys enough freedom, enough information to see what their opportunities are, what best suits them. In today's world, NIL is a part of that from our side. No, he's been very diligent in his workouts. He's had a great off season. I've said this, he's one of the hardest working guys that I've been around, and that's been very true this spring.
Is it hard to be patient, Brett? I mean, those guys have decisions to make. They're still going to be players. But how do you stay patient for these next 6 weeks?
Yeah, I quit worrying about it. I say that in a good way. It's not, those decisions aren't mine to make. I have very little say. They know that we love them and we want them here, and yet you want what's best for their future, not just next year, but the next 5 to 10 years. So, we've tried to provide as much information as we can for those guys. That comes sometimes one day to another, or it's a week after a week. You don't know. So patience is something I've learned to have and learn to grow with. But I try not to sweat it too much.
Third of the Big Ten coaches, a little more than that, are here. What's that say about you guys as a group?
I hope a lot. I hope it's one of those things that, man, we've got a lot of people who do a lot more than coach. That they care. We care about people. The connectivity of coaches is a lot more than just everybody sees a gruff sideline or whatever it is. And man, this is about having fun. We're human beings. We enjoy life. We enjoy helping other people. It's one of the things that I'm so excited, made me so happy to be here and see all these guys here. Is they've got the same cause. And we're here for something that is much, much bigger than the wins or losses of a basketball game. It's saving lives, and I told everybody, you got one job when you're here, and that's have fun. And we don't get to do that enough anymore, in my opinion. And so for this group to come here means a lot, and I think they have tremendous respect for our program, our fans, and we're gonna have fun tonight.
Your lawn is an important investment. Let Spring Green take care of that lawn. Your local, family-owned and operated Spring Green has been committed to beautifying your neighborhood through quality, service, and professionalism. Spring Green's full program customers are backed by their guarantee of satisfaction. Smart Money Magazine reports that consumers value a home with a well-maintained lawn and landscape up to 11.3% higher than the base price. Why don't you call Spring Green today, 359-2111, or visit them at spring-green.com.
Racing. Farmer City Racing has a full show of late models, modifieds, and street stocks battling it out for the big prize money on Dirt Car Racing's Track of the Year. Sponsors like Illini Overhead Door help make your Friday night lights racing experience terrific. Get pit passes now with discounts for veterans and young fans under 12. Visit farmercityracing.com. You'll buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Want unbeatable prices on your next furniture purchase, but also seeking that local hometown feel? Look no further than Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola. Customers rave about their friendly, established staff, as well as their great selection, amazing prices, and second-to-none delivery service. They're a third-generation local business, and they've always got your best interests at heart. Find the look you love for less. Open 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday, but always available online at kelseyfurniture.com. That's kelseyfurniture.com.
Hey, Class A CDL drivers, March is already here.
We have moved our clocks forward an hour, the days are getting longer, and our customers are booking us up with freight. Gale Frericks Trucking wants to invite you to join our team and get a taste of what it's like to work with a team that cares about you, your home time, and your professional growth as well as your paycheck. This is Operations Manager Donna Onstott inviting you to join us as we continue building the company you would have started if you knew then what you know now. Our drivers are pre-dispatched, make a guaranteed minimum gross pay of $1,200 per week, have paid vacations and benefits, and are home every weekend and sometimes during the week for quality family time. Our openings are limited, so don't miss your opportunity with the top-paying trucking company in the area, Gale Frericks Trucking. Call 765-793-7131 today. Call 765-793-7131 today. 765-793-7131 or email timo@gftlog.com.
Illini Pizza fans, great things come from Jets Pizza. Detroit-style pizza is one of them. Freshly made dough pressed into steel pans inspired by the Motor City. Topped with premium mozzarella, Mama Jet's secret sauce, fresh toppings, then baked to the thickest, crispiest, cheesy crunch. Want Detroit-style proof? Order Jet's famous 8-corner pizza. It's 8 pieces of crispy, crunchy, and cheesy to the edge pizza. Right now, get $5 off an 8-corner pizza at regular menu price. Online code 8SAVE. Jets Pizza. Better because it has to be.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. That's why State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow is right here in Champaign-Urbana to help you select the right protection at the right price. Kurt will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. Just call him when you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Ready for an exciting change? At Merle Norman, we can take your look from ordinary to extraordinary in a matter of minutes. Our innovative skincare, perfectly matched foundations, and on-trend colors will make a difference that's written all over your face. Come in and see what a makeover can do. We'll help select the products that are just right for you, and we'll teach you tips that the pros know about applying your most flattering shades. Ask for your free express makeover today, calling 217-359-8100 or visit 706 West Market View Drive in Champaign.
Hey Illini fans, it's Max Kellerman. Catch Lon Tay and Derek Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Back on the drive with Tay and Piper, Derek Piper, Kyle Toss. My voice is hanging on, Kyle. My voice is hanging on.
You're almost there.
Almost there. You just heard from Brad Underwood from Tuesday night at Gordyville, his Coaches versus Cancer event. Great turnout, both in terms of the fans, the donors, the supporters that came out to show their support against cancer in the fight and also the fundraising to battle cancer with research and all of that. So shout out to those that went out there. Shout out to Tom Izzo, Matt Painter, Fran McCaffrey, and also Fred Hoiberg for showing up and supporting Brad Underwood. And on that note, let's play some of what Tom Izzo and Matt Painter both had to say. Let's get to Tom Izzo first. I liked what Tom had to say. You know, he does have a little bit of the cranky old man vibe, and especially when on the note of the portal, but does offer up some very good points and wanted you to get to be able to hear that. So we're going to play Tom, then also finish up with Matt Painter as we close out this show. But here is Tom Izzo from Tuesday night there at Gordyville.
What did you think driving up to this place? I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere here.
Yeah, I'm from the UP of Michigan. You have no idea where that's at. That's the second place that's in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's not the end of the world, but you can see the end of the world where I'm from. So it was cool. I just enjoyed the ride out here, to be honest with you. But when you come in a place like this, it's really never the place. It's the people in the place. And the people in the place here have been just phenomenal, you know. I bet you I've met 1,000 people that all lied to me, 2 that didn't. Or 2 Spartan fans, and all the others said, hey, you're my favorite coach. And I said, who you kidding, you know? But it's really cool. It's really good, and I'm ecstatic to be here, to be honest with you.
What did you make of the portal and what it's become and where you're at now?
Well, I'm a bad guy to talk to about the portal because I think it's ridiculous. I think just my opinion. And I've been on a board with Matt. It's been a 3-4 year fight, and I think all the people that thought it would maybe be a good idea, give kids some freedom, I don't think they feel that way today. So, this ability to transfer whenever you want, leave whenever you want, do whatever you want. I'm glad it wasn't like that when I was in school, because I think I'd have made a lot of bad mistakes. And I think before it's all said and done, the biggest losers are going to be the people that everybody thought were the biggest winners, and that's the kids, the players, the students. So, not a fan of it, but there's a lot of things I'm not a fan of that I have to do, and I'll try to do the best I can do, but it makes things hard, even come to things like this. We're all home with, we put a jail around our university, so we keep everybody from coming in and poaching our kids. It's a shame. It really is. That's just my opinion, and take it for what you want.
Obviously, Tom, you prioritize continuity. How have you been able to keep that?
Well, I've only done it for 2 years, really. Everybody does it differently, and I don't condemn anybody, and I appreciate everybody. Everybody's got their own way of doing some things, but I've looked at our place, and I've been there a long time, and I got so many alums that come back, and even the alums like Magic, who I didn't coach, but they got caught up in, and I think it's been a relationship program. And now everything's turned into a transaction program. And maybe I'm going to have to adjust to it. Maybe I'll do like some, say sayonara. But nobody will get me to agree that it's best for the student athletes. Because I think what seems like it on the front end is really poor in the back end when you see what graduation rates and all the other problems that this created. Kids going places because of money or because of this and don't really want to be there. I think they're going to lose out in the end. So I'm happy the way I've had it, but I don't begrudge anybody. I understand it, and I'm sure someday I'm going to have to go the route that we have to go. I'm just going to fight like hell to make sure I don't any earlier than I have to.
Is there a shock value anymore when a certain big name hits the portal, or has that gone away?
No, that's gone away. Because coaches know why certain guys go in the portal that are successful at some place. We all know why. And, it's America. And if that's what we feel is best, that's what they do. But again, we'll see. The test of time is really what matters. It's not what happens in a 2-year period. So let's see what happens. Let's see if kids graduate. Let's see what happens to programs. And as we learned, it's not about the programs, because I think the guys that promote it think that every university has billions of dollars, and they don't. And so it's just, and the same with boosters. They don't. I always said I got a couple of guys that are very wealthy in our. The reason they're wealthy is because they were smart with their money. They don't just give it away. So we'll see where it takes us, but a lot of other good things happening in the Big Ten, and a lot of good things happening with all of us, to be honest with you. So the portal is just something we have to deal with.
Some very honest words there from Tom Izzo, and I think a lot of people will agree with some of what he said. Don't you think?
I think there will be a lot. I disagree with some things. Like, I get it. I don't know if necessarily his point that the student athletes are the biggest losers in all this. I don't know about that, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think he does share the same opinion as a lot of people, that especially older fans that probably align with when he entered the game. So
yeah. Matt Painter speaks on a similar note, has a similar opinion to the portal. You can hear his thoughts coming up right now. Here's Matt Painter from Gordyville on Tuesday night.
It said it was going to be nice to maybe put the phone away for a couple hours.
Yeah, there you go.
Take a break from what's not a break for you guys.
Yeah, we wish that we could determine that, like when we put the phone away. I think it's more, everybody's in different situations. Like some people have to get into the portal and get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. If you take a job, there's guys out there that have to sign a whole team. So, I'm just thankful at Purdue that we've had a lot of retention and a lot of guys. We've had a couple guys here in the past couple years transfer, but for the most part, we've done a good job of keeping guys and building them. And that's the hard piece. You gotta be able to sign them, but then if you want to develop them, you got to be able to keep them. You can't develop people you can't keep. So it's a little bit different landscape in college basketball, but it's part of it, and it's the same for everybody.
What's your secret then?
What's that?
What's your secret then, unless you don't want to give that away?
No, I think the secret for us has been not looking at who we're beating in recruiting, but who's a fit at our place. And it's got to be important for them to get their education at Purdue. So if you want to leave, you got to take a hard look at, okay, I'm going to leave and transfer. That means I'm never going to get a degree at Purdue. And so just trying to find people that understand the value of education, but also obviously being a really good player. It goes hand in hand, but and just building relationships, not just in recruiting, but when they're on your team. Like continue to build relationships where it's that trust. So if you can get that trust, and trust is a two-way street.
Hi, I'm Troy Lance.
It really helps
Heating,
out.
Cooling,
If you're just
Plumbing.
fielding
Right
a
now,
team and
Lance,
you're
it's a
going
great
back and
time to buy
forth,
new
and you just want to have a good team, you're not going to have a good program. So we just strive to have a good program and then just keep building it from there.
Now, what's your relationship like with Brad for him to want to bring you here? Pretty cool collection of coaches.
Yeah, he reached out to a lot of us during the year. I thought I was going to be on the West Coast at this time, and then that's the reason I was kind of a late add-on, because then that didn't work. And it was through recruiting, because trying to get people on campus, everybody always thinks it's up to us, but it's up to the recruits. So, but no, this is a great event. I'm glad he has something like this. Obviously, when Bruce Weber was here, we had the event at the Beef House for Coaches vs. Cancer, and that was really cool, and tried to keep that going, and it just didn't, Illinois did a lot of the work, to be frank with you, just like this is their event, but the Illinois-Purdue event, they really started and did it. So that raised a lot of money, and then hopefully we can just be a part of this event tonight and raise a lot of money.
A couple of years into this portal and all this, is there anything you'd like to see change, or how have you guys adjusted?
Yeah, I'd like to see it go away. I was on a lot of those committees when it first came, and name, image, and likeness was going to happen. We had to do a better job with its guardrails, but this didn't need to happen. Anything that you can have, they're trying to make everything the same, and a lot of it is the fear of litigation. And the NCAA is spending just oodles of money, millions of dollars, trying to keep things out of the courtroom and then battle things in the courtroom. So a lot of people don't know that's really a pretty kind of good premise that they've had, with that rule. But the one-time transfer in the portal did not need to happen. So now allowing guys just to move, and you kind of equate it to like trading baseball cards when you're a little kid. That's what fans, they grow with. It's like, if you can remember when free agency started in baseball, with Curt Flood and all that happened, they have those rights, but it made you mad because if you're a Cardinals fan in this area or a Cubs fan in this area, those are your guys. You don't want to see them move, and that's how I became a Cubs fan. I was an hour and 45 minutes from Cincinnati, and Pete Rose left. And when you're 9 years old, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, why can't Pete Rose be a Cincinnati Red forever? So I think your fans, have that affinity for those players, and they want to see them grow through the ranks from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. Obviously, there are some positive transfers. I'm not saying it's, there are times when guys need to leave, and there was a venue for that and a setup for that. But the rules are for everybody, right? And it's the same. So you just got to be able to kind of get things figured out. You got to make sure you know who you're getting, or you're just going to keep them. You're just going to kind of have a guy for a short amount of time. I would rather try to get it figured out to the best of our ability, even though it's an inexact science. So now we can have a guy for 4 to 5 years.
Now, what kind of stories will we expect to hear tonight? There's a lot of
I don't know how open this is, so it's my first time. So anytime you get coaches, normally you're going to get some good stories about referees. So, but no, we have some really good competitive battles within the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is just a fabulous league, so hopefully some of those stories come out.
Good stuff there from Matt Painter as well as Tom Izzo on Tuesday night there at Gordyville. We are up against it, so we got to say see ya. Appreciate everybody for listening. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather tonight. Enjoy some baseball if you're watching at home, or if you're out there like Lon, going and checking out some local action as well. We will talk to you on Monday. Maybe get into some of those what ifs that we came up with. I'm sure some news will happen as far as the portal, and we'll talk that. We'll talk baseball. Kyle's going to talk Chicago Bulls after tonight's game. The play-in tournament, Bulls Heat tonight. I'll have to check that out a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Just tune in.
I'll be watching. I'll be rooting for them, but I mean, with this roster, you're a playing team, really.
Yeah. All right, we got to get out of here. Everybody have a great night. It is The Drive.
Hi, this is Chris Jackson with Kramer Siding and Window. And whatever your project, you can count on Kramer Siding to offer you the best products backed by the best warranties in the business, as well as Central Illinois employees dedicated to providing you with professional installation and a lifetime of great customer service. And right now, you can save 10% on roofing, sunrooms, and decks, get 15% off gutter helmet, and you can save 25% on
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Unemployment, your tax bill will be different.